Hello, and welcome to my Put a Word on It broadcast, where I apply biblical principles to psychological, mental health, and life issues. I am Dr. Jessica Williams, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I'll be talking about fear. In this context, we're going to start in a passage of scripture in Mark chapter 4, where Jesus is with his disciples on a boat and a storm happens. Jesus is asleep while his disciples are awake, and we're going to start from this particular context. So, Mark chapter 4, verses 37 through 41, it says, "And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat into the ship so that it was now full. And he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow. And they awake him and say unto him, Master, do you not care that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" So we see, like many times in our own lives, things can be going well. We're just going along, doing what we got to do, just doing life, right? And then sometimes the storms of life hit. In this scripture, in Mark 4, verse 37, it said there arose a great storm. And sometimes that happens in our lives. A great storm, something happens out of the blue, something happens unexpectedly that we didn't even expect, that throws us off. It's a great storm. It's something very tempestuous that comes into our lives. And sometimes, especially when it's outside of our control, we don't know what to do. And the first response sometimes is fear. You know, when something is happening outside of your control, it's threatening, it can be dangerous to our lives. It can be so chaotic. It causes fear because if you don't know what to do, you're fearful. You panic sets in, anxiety sets in. And if we look at this great storm of wind, it's causing the waves to fill the boat. It's like something happening that's filling your life that shouldn't be, and it's causing this great fear. And of course, it's not a good thing when water is in this boat. They could drown, and sometimes there's situations that happen in your life that you feel like you are drowning. And so as the wind is beating the waves into the ship, the boat is now full of water. Not a good position to be in. But Jesus is asleep. The disciples are awake, and they're waking him up saying, Do you not care that we're perishing? And sometimes in your life, especially for those of you who are believers, you might feel, or you may not even be a believer in God, but you might feel, Well, God, do you not see what's happening in my life? Do you not care about what's happening? Do something about it. So they're waking him up because they're like, How are you asleep when don't you understand what's happening to us right now? And so Jesus did something. He arose, he rebuked the wind, and said something. He said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. In other words, after a great storm, there's a great calm. The wind in this context is a violent agitation, a very strong tempestuous wind. A storm is a whirlwind, a tempestuous wind, a violent attack of wind. It's furious gusts with floods of rain and throwing everything topsy-turvy. How about it for you in your life? Have things been topsy-turvy where everything seems like it was just turned all upside down and torn apart? And these waves were beating, they were casting upon, it says, seizing one to lead him off as a prisoner, to rush in, to put one's mind upon a thing, attend to. And sometimes when you're getting hit on every side, when there's such a whirlwind in your life, it's like your mind is constantly focused on that storm, that it overrides your ability to problem solve at times because your emotions are heightened. You're in a place of anxiety or in fear, and when that happens, sometimes you can't think clearly nor straightly. You're purely functioning from a place of emotion. But this principle that Jesus was saying to his disciples in here, when he asked them, "Why do you have no faith?" Because he's letting us know that we have the power over storms. We have the power to do something about storms and situations that happen in our lives. We're not completely powerless. So this tells us that there's something we must do. We have to arise and speak to that situation. When Jesus arose, he rebuked the wind, which means that he chided, reproved, he censured severely to admonish or charge sharply. He forbid it. And he said, Peace, be still. Peace means to be silent, hold one's peace. Be still means to close the mouth with a muzzle, to stop the mouth, to make speechless, to reduce to silence, to be kept in check. So, in other words, the wind ceased, it grew weary, it grew tired, it ceased from violence, it ceased from raging, it was reduced to a place of relaxation. And sometimes, because of the noise of the storm, the noise of the wind, the noise of the situations, the chaos, the confusion, the situations that are buffeting you in your life, the noise of it causes your focus to be entirely on it, that sometimes it paralyzes your ability to act in that situation. So when storms happen in your life, this is just an encouragement to you to arise, speak to that storm, speak something. Don't just allow it to just have its way and overcome you and be paralyzed by fear. Rise up to deal with the storm. Listen to this part. You are only in danger of drowning if you don't rise up and do something. So let this be my encouragement to you today, that you have power over storms in your life, even when it seems powerless, even when it seems like no solution is in sight. You have to collect yourself and move from a place of fear and arise knowing that you have the power to do so. So yes, you might have an initial feeling of panic and fear, but after that, once you collect yourself, the power comes forth from within you to do something about it. Be encouraged today. You are not powerless.